Hello everybody and welcome again to lyranara.com, your leading resource for holistic health in North America. And today we have another great presentation for you about an amazing and unique device that does diagnostics as well as therapy in just minutes. And it is called the Kindling Easy, and it's from one of the leading manufacturers of bioresonance and EDS devices in the world, made in Germany, and there is no other device on the market like it, as it is the only bioresonance device that doesn't work on your whole body but only on your autonomous nervous system. And we're gonna explain you why this is so important, how the autonomous nervous system works, how this device works. As the name says it already, it's extremely easy to use. It's a one-button operation, and we're gonna show you all about it. So let's dive right into it. Get excited. It's amazing information that you're gonna hear. So let's start by talking a little bit about the autonomous nervous system. And as you might know already, the autonomous system consists of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, and those two work antagonistically. So the sympathetic actuates or activates your inner organs, and the parasympathetic sedates them. And the ANS, so the autonomous nervous system, is so important because it is the control center for all the inner organs in your body. And here on this slide, you can see some of the factors that can bring your autonomous nervous system out of balance. And there you can see on the left scale the redox potential, and on the bottom scale you can see the pH value, and in the middle is the healthy zone, as you can see in this. And some of the disturbances that can bring your autonomous nervous system out of whack are, for example, funguses, antibiotics, viruses, also vitamins and enzymes can bring that out of whack, and also bacteria infections. And on the next slide we're going to show you even more factors. So apart from some substances like viruses, funguses, etc., that were discussed already on a previous slide, also water can disturb your balance of the redox potential and your pH value. For example, chlorine in the water, but also processed or sterile water like osmosis water. Even mineral water, certain types of mineral water can disturb the balance. And also water that is full of impurities, bacteria of course can do the same. And why that is important, because once your autonomous nervous system is disturbed or out of balance, your whole autoregulation system of this autonomous nervous system gets out of balance too. And this can then lead in the end to a morbidic state, which means that you develop multiple diseases and even up to death, as the cells are getting destroyed. And that's what we're going to have a look at in the next slide. So here we see a nice display of how the autoregulation system works that we talked about, and it goes from the skin layer up into the cell. And you don't need to understand everything in this slide. This is for the people in the know, like therapists, but important to see here is to understand that if this cell regulation system is out of balance, then eventually the cell dies, and this leads to the so-called morbid state, which means that you develop chronic diseases, even multiple ones, that can, in the worst case scenario, lead up even to death. Here you can see how the natural calcium pump can be disturbed, which is called carbohydrates. So literally it means that your whole body is becoming more acidic, a more acidic environment, as the glucose metabolism is disturbed. And the autonomous nervous system, that's why it's so important that you don't become so acidic. It regulates the acidity in your blood. So once this acidity is out of whack, it means the autonomous nervous system is out of balance, and in the end it means that you develop diseases. And as acidity is so important for your well-being, here you see the curve of a normal pH profile in urine in this case over the course of a day. And this is not what the Kindling Easy System regulates. It goes deeper than that, as it regulates the blood acidic value. And the blood acidic value should always be between 7.2 and 7.4 pH. And only a 0.1 deviation from that perfect value would mean that you develop diseases. And once your curve doesn't look like this anymore, and the urine is a result of the acidity in your blood, and once you cannot have this perfect curve anymore, your body cannot regulate itself as the ANS is out of balance, then you start developing diseases. And that's where the Kindling Easy regulates and helps the autonomous nervous system balance itself out again so that you remain healthy. As we've mentioned, all the diseases have their cause in the autonomous nervous system not being able to auto-regulate the pH value and your whole body as it should. And once this does not work properly anymore, then you develop at first allergies and incompatibilities. That would be the first sign, and then it can lead up even to the so-called morbidic state, where organ diseases are developing, like cancer and even worse. And that's why it's so important to help the ANS remain healthy, so it can auto-balance or auto-regulate itself on all the organs in your body as it is supposed to. And this is exactly where the Kindling device, Kindling Easy, helps you. And here you can see a chart of all the different diseases that can develop, so-called acidic diseases, when your whole autonomous nervous system doesn't work properly anymore. And it goes from cardiovascular diseases over rheumatic diseases, but also psychological or emotional stress can cause acidity in you, osteoporosis, candida, allergies and intolerances, recurrent blood inflammation, diabetes. There's many diseases that can lead or are caused by acidic environments. Actually, all of the diseases are caused by acidic environments, and only a systematic autoregulative therapy can help in this case. And this is exactly this systematic functional bioresonance therapy is exactly what a Kindling Easy offers you, and is the only device on the market that can work on your autonomous nervous system. All the other ones work on your whole body. This one concentrates on literally the balancing system of your whole body, the autonomous nervous system. And as we've already mentioned, it is extremely easy to use. Here you see the device and the two hand electrodes on the right, with which you take the measurements that take only 5 seconds. And then the therapy takes 2 minutes, and you have 2 other electrodes that you put on your body, for example on the liver, as it is one of the most important detoxifying and balancing organs in your body. And the system or the device will go automatically through 7 of those measurements and therapy loops automatically, as I said. So you only have to press the start stop button, and you will see all the advice of what to do, on the display of the device. You don't need a computer or anything to plug it in. It's extremely simple and easy to use, and the whole 7 loops are gonna take about 16 minutes, and you can repeat this therapy up to 5 times a day. You can do it preventively, etc. So it's a system that has no side effects. You cannot misuse it. Everything, all the instructions on how to use it are clearly displayed. Like, for example, on the display, you're going to see now take the hand electrodes for the measurement, and after the 5 seconds, it's going to tell you now put the electrodes down and put the therapy electrodes on your body. And then it's gonna count down the 2 minutes and repeat the loop 7 times until the therapy session and diagnosis actually and therapy sessions all in one is completed. And here you can see the device with all of its accessories. You get hand electrodes, brass hand electrodes, very high quality and also gold plated. Then you get the therapy wrist electrodes and a rubber electrode that you can place on any organ or any part of your body that is affected. You also get an input and an output cup. The output cup is for creating homeopathic remedies to support the therapy, and the input cup can be used to plug in some body fluids or some other substances that you want to test. So how does the Kindling Easy work in detail? Well, it's very simple. As we mentioned already, you take the two hand electrodes, and the information about the unbalances in your autonomous nervous system are going to be collected through those two gold-plated electrodes in your hand. And what they are measuring is sweat gland production, because the sweat gland production is actually modulated by the autonomous nervous system. And this is correlated, as we've mentioned already, with the body's regulatory capacity for all the organs. Therefore, it's a very good indicator of any imbalance in your system. The palms of your hands have a very high density of sweat glands, and that's why we take the measurement at your hands. There are over 400 sweat glands on a square centimeter on your hand, more than anywhere else on your body. And the sympathetic nervous system increases gland secretion, and the parasympathetic nervous system, so the other antagonistic player in the ANS, reduces sweat gland secretion. So it's a very good point to take measurements. And you can also collect information from body fluids such as blood, urine and saliva, etc. through the input cup, of course. And here you can see two charts from before the treatment and after the treatment, and I'm going to explain to you what those curves mean and how they should look like. So if there are three lines, the red one, the green one and the blue one, the measurement should be in the middle about, of course. And if it's more towards the blue line, it means that your parasympathetic is more active, and if it's more towards the red line, it means that your sympathetic nervous system is more active. You see in the first graph on the right that the line is also the black line of the measurement is quite flat. It doesn't have a lot of amplitude in its zigzag motion, and it should look more like on the second picture from the bottom, where there is a clear zigzag line, and it goes also towards more of the green 40 value, which is the optimum value. And the system is gonna auto-regulate as long as it needs to in the 7 loops. And if the chart afterwards still doesn't look ideal, then you can repeat the treatment up to 5 times a day. During the treatment also the patient often experiences autonomic relaxations, such as unconscious deep sighs or wide yawns, and these reactions are pretty much okay, and what you want to see that as they correspond to a deep relaxation and often correlate with stabilized and balanced measurements on the display. Some more remarks about the graphic interpretation of the results. For specialists in classical EDS and bioresonance therapy, you should note that the scales are slightly different. So here the blue line corresponds to 50 in your classic EDS device, and the green line would correspond to 80 SKTs on your normal EDS device. The red line would correspond to 100. And the low values indicate, as we said already, relatively little activity of the sweat glands of the palms, and can be interpreted as a situation dominated by the patient's parasympathetic system. The high values indicate increased activity of the sweat glands and can be interpreted as a situation dominated by the sympathetic system. And here we have compiled some real-life examples of the curves. and how they look like on the device and their meaning. So we're going to go through them so you get a better understanding of how those curves are generated and what they exactly mean when they look like that. So the first one is showing a very flat curve around a normal level, which means that the patient is energetically balanced but has a normal, though sluggish, autoregulation. The second one we see means that the patient, again, because it's hovering around the green line, is energetically balanced, but because of the zigzag line, it means also that this guy or person has a normal, strong autoregulation. And the third example here shows you the line more towards the blue, and it means that this patient is energetically low, and the parasympathetic autoregulation is more active, and there is an energy increase towards the end of the treatment, as you can see that the graph moves towards the green area. Here are some more examples of the graphs and what their meaning. The first one shows a very energetically balanced patient with very good autoregulation, as you can see in the nice zigzag line, based on good autonomous nervous system response, and is also one of the best autoregulative curves you can see. The second is showing an energetically balanced patient with favorable autoregulation, but with a tendency towards a parasympathetic state with mitochondrial energy drop at the end. The third one, this patient has a low energy level. As you can see, it's towards the blue line with parasympathetic autoregulation and with a jump towards the end towards higher energy, known as ignition also, which is a good sign. It means that the healing begins. More graphs showing you how those lines can look like and their meanings. Here in the first one we see a soft autoregulation, no zigzag line, with a slight tendency towards stress accumulation, and it's sympathetic driven as it is more towards the red line, and it's specific for a disease condition. The second one is a patient that is parasympathetic driven, as you might figure out by now, as it moves, it's very much on the blue line. This patient has also soft autoregulation, as it doesn't zigzag around, with a strong jump into the energy normalization and autonomous nervous system balance towards the end. As you can see, the spike towards the end of the curve, showing that the healing process is beginning. And the last one is an energetically exhausted patient with parasympathetic moderate autoregulation and a drop in energy level to eliminate stress. Often this graph is characteristic for the healing phase. And here we have the last three examples we want to share with you. The first patient, as you can see, as the line is very much on the blue line, and so it means that patient has a parasympathetic dominant condition, and it starts with a strong ignition of normalization towards the end. As you see the spike, and it even starts to zigzag, which means that the patient is normalizing. That's something we want to see after the treatment. In the second graph, you have a very similar condition as above, but with a stronger effect or a jump towards the end. And the last one is something that you don't want to see, is a typical autoregulation rigidity. The patient is normally very sick and has no indication of a healing effect regulation, as the graph doesn't pick up towards the end. So those would be real life examples performed with this device, and I think they show you very nicely how this whole system works. It's easy to understand, in my opinion, and I think you agree with that once you figured it out. And I think with these examples you got a very nice insight into how it all works. You're going to be able to perform the same and interpret the results. And of course the handbook gives you also a further help to the interpretation of those results. So don't worry if you have any question. Of course, we also always welcome your questions at our hotline. So you will always be able to diagnose and interpret the results. And as the device also automatically, depending on the outcome of the results, starts a therapy, an automated therapy session, you don't have to set anything to achieve the desired results. So very easy to use. Again, that's why it's called a Kindling Easy, very intuitive with nice, easy to understand graphic displays that you can share with your patients so you can understand yourself. So an amazing device. Now that we've learned why the autonomous nervous system is so important, as it regulates all the organs in your body, let's see why the Kindling device is so unique. And we will go as far as to say that it's your single choice to treat chronic diseases. First of all, it's totally automated. It self-calibrates once you switch it on. It's a one-button operation, and it does a dynamic treatment protocol and measurements. Therapy is 100% customized to the patient's conditions. And every 2 minutes, there's a recurrent self-calibration and measurements. And there's a total of 7 therapy loops per session, as we mentioned already. It's very simple to use. You do a hand-to-hand skin conductivity measurement, as we've explained to you already. And you can use it therefore privately. You don't need any instructions or previous training to use this device, as it is so simple and automatic. You can delegate the work, for example, to the nurse. You don't have to do it as the therapist yourself, as you just press the start-stop button and the system will auto-calibrate, will go through the measurement cycle and then automatically regulate according to the results. It's dynamic, it's automated, and it's error-free. So, and as it's always based on the most recent measurement, it works on the complex autoregulative bioresonance procedures of your autonomous nervous system response, and it's very intuitive to use. You don't need a computer. You have a nice graphic representation of the treatment changes. You have also like an immediate and very comprehensible display of the treatment results. So the patient can see in a graphic way what is happening and how what the benefits are of the device immediately. It's very fast, only 16 minutes for the 7-loop cycle, so you waste no time. It's therefore very cost effective for doctors as well as patients, and it's also very affordable in purchase. Let's finish this up by once again talking about all of the health benefits that the Kindling Easy System brings you. It's fully automated, as we've mentioned in the previous slide already, and it addresses multiple chronic diseases, actually all the acidic diseases, and most of the diseases stem from an acidic environment and the morbidity conditions. And there is no other therapy device that does it like this. It's very efficient for patients as well as practitioners. It is triggering and training the body's systemic autoregulation capacity, so it's a real holistic therapy. Very comfortable and easy to use, as the name says it already. It has no risks and no side effects. You cannot do anything wrong with it. You can also create your own custom homeopathic remedies that are custom made just for the condition of the patient, and you can follow up very easily in the next session with your therapy. It has a very high acceptance and confidence for the patients, and the doctors, as you can follow up on the screen on all the dynamic changes during the therapy. It can be used, therefore, by doctors as well as patients. No errors in the therapy can occur. The parameters are set automatically, and the therapy is also performed automatically by the device based on the taken measurements. It's a one-button operation with a very nice color display, and you can actually perform the therapy by yourself independently, and even without your therapist's advice. It can be delivered to the same patient multiple times, and is the best price value for the most complex systematic or systemic functional bioresonance system on the market. It trains the autonomous nervous system to self-auto-regulate. It triggers the self-healing processes in your body, and it helps you recover and rejuvenate the cells. So it's a quite amazing device. We love this device. We've heard only good things about it from our users, and we hope that you like these presentations and you're gonna give it a try. Please contact us with all of your further questions and comments. Comment also down below in the comment section if you like to. We appreciate all feedback, and we hope to see and hear from you again very soon here at lironaro.com, your leading resource for holistic health in North America. Thank you very much for your time.